as soon as the first goal came in, we knew the second goal was came in.
Yeah.
But just the calamitous way in which this happened was just, oof.
The word that came to mind for me was generational bottle job. You had all
Hmm.
the advantages, all the technical superiorities all over the park, but even then, you just can't get back past that defensive mindset.
But if Messi wins this World Cup, what a career he's had. And tip of the hat to him. He's done it with enormous expectations. I mean, people don't realize the deity level to which Diego Maradona was
Hmm.
basically deified in Argentina, whereby now you don't see as much Diego jerseys. Everyone's got that Messi 10.
For one game, yes, my God, because France were overwhelming favorites for this game. Like everyone thought this was going to be everyone thought like this was the Spanish were going to be competitive. But like 95% of people knew that thought that the French were going to win. And like to completely play them off the pitch, for them to not basically have an attempt on goal at all, to basically completely take out Mbappe, to completely for Michael Olise to play his worst game, Usman Dembele to play his worst game. Every single France player had their worst game, and every single Spanish player had their best game.
Welcome to the dugout. After an amazing set of semifinals, we finally have our final set for Sunday, July 19th. Spain to play the current World Cup winners, Argentina. Gentlemen, you guys doing okay? So let's talk about the match of this World Cup, the semifinal in Atlanta between current champions Argentina against England. And boy, this was an absolute backyard barnstormer in Atlanta. Fitting site in the deep south in the AC, packed fans, probably 80% Argentinians, and this lived up to the hype of all the pre-match stuff. A lot of times these matches don't, but this was 86 Argentina, 98 Saint Etienne, 2002 Japan, all rolled, and the Falkland War all rolled into one. It was, as different of a game from France and Spain as you could have, and we'll come to France and Spain. But boy, I thoroughly enjoyed this game. England won, Argentina two, and to me, the take-home message is yes, Argentina won that game, but England did their level best to hand that game to them as well on a silver platter. Mustafa, before we come to the blood and thunder of the second half, take us through that very cagey first half where it was almost like two boxers just trying to feel themselves out. Yeah, not a lot of action, but also action, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I mean, we kind of knew what we were in for when like Elliot Anderson got elbowed at the back of his head in the 6 minute, and that didn't get a yellow card. Like, by the way, as much as everyone's going to be annoying about this, the referee actually did a very good job this game. He was a very good referee. He let them play. He let little contact go away. He only started brandishing cards when it started getting out of control. And when it was blatant, like the first yellow card was in the final third when you were stopping. When you, it was to Elliot Anderson when he was stopping Messi in their final third. It that was a that was a clear yellow card. Same with Martinez and same with Romero, right? That this was I didn't know what we were in for in the second half, but I already knew something was churning because it was so physical. There was so much vitriol. Everyone was fighting for every second ball. Everyone was running harder. Everyone was tense, but also like ready for the moment for a bit as well. Like you like. Spence was running out of his mind. Like it was Kane was still going back to dropping deep too much, in my opinion, but like he wasn't getting the ball. Um, it was a very cagey half, but like it was still exciting if you actually like football. I know we only got the first attempt on goal, I think, like 30 minutes into the game,
Yep,
but but the
right at the end of near the end of the first half. Easy,
lit
your thoughts on that first half?
I think England, for the most part, did really well to contain Messi centrally and, of course, clam him up with the likes of Elliot Anderson and, of course, Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham dropping deep as well. And Jed Spence played a fantastic match. I was really, really impressed with him. Reece James, as long as he was in there, provided a lot of mobility, provided a lot of cover. He was very good as well. And England seemed to have, contained Argentina to the center of the pitch. We've already seen Argentina, a very central team. It's Messi surrounded by 4 or 5 central midfielders, and they did well to bottle them up. I thought Jude Bellingham was looking good. Anthony Gordon was looking good for the most part and seemed to be going according to plan, that they had initially taken the sting out of the tail out of the Argentinians, and eventually as it unfolded with that wonderful goal by Anthony Gordon. What a wonderful tournament he's had. He's really lived up to that massive price tag that Barcelona have paid for him. Much maligned at the start of the tournament, but he's maintained his starting berth right throughout. And he was very impressive. Morgan Rogers largely absent, but they did get the cross in that provided the opener for England. But then England, well, we can discuss about
So
that
let's
further.
let's come let's come to that.
Tuchel
So
turtling in once again.
let's come to the Morgan Rogers to Anthony Gordon link up, because that was the first major decision that Tuchel made before this game. It was None Madueke and Saka on the right. He dropped them both, brought in Morgan Rogers. Anthony Gordon has established himself as the left winger of choice. Rashford experiment didn't work. And to me, that really worked well. Clearly Kane figured out, if I drop deep, basically use the lack of pace that Licha Martinez and
Romero.
Christian Romero have, you can take advantage of that. So sure enough, Kane dropped deep, picked the ball up, passed it off to Declan Rice down the right wing. He laid it off to Rogers, who fed Anthony Gordon, 1-0 England. And at that point, you thought England one foot in the door into the final. And if they just maintained the same game plan, they'd be home free. But inexplicably, they began retreating. Now, teams generally retreat after the first goal because you score the first goal, you don't want to immediately concede. But the degree to which they retreated, they became deeper and narrower as well.
Mm.
What that allowed Messi to do is Messi just parked himself on the right at the corner of that of the box. And the other thing that happened was they vacated that midfield. And so Enzo and Alexis McAllister and Paredes, before he was replaced by Nico Gonzalez, could add width and basically walk right up to the final third. And from then, it was just a matter of crossing the ball. This was the Azteca plan. The problem is, it wasn't just Mexican players crossing the ball into Raul Jimenez. It was our Argentinian technical players crossing the ball into every single Argentinian player who was basically running in. And before the goal, you had two warning shots. One, Rodrigo de Paul crossing into Alexis McAllister, where Pickford saved. The other, which he should have scored, hit the crossbar. But that was a sign of things to come. Why Tuchel moved to a 5-4-1, and then in the 70th minute replacing Anthony Gordon with Konsa was just calamitous. The goal didn't come to the 85th minute, but by that time, Tuchel had took off Reece James and brought in Dan Burn, and also took off Declan Rice for Nico O'Reilly. And so that 5-4-1 became even worse. Mustafa, your thoughts on this decision and this madness from Tuchel?
Yeah, yeah. Also, I would like to say that like he then brought in Rashford and Tony right at the end because he was
But that was after the goal. But
that was
go
after.
ahead with this decision.
These It's astounding to the point where I have been like I've been singing my praises about Thomas Tuchel all tournament, where I think he's had his finger on the pulse. My God, there's his new nickname might be Gareth Tuchel at this point, with the way he was with this game plan, because like how do you were dominating them all game, like the England were on the front foot, you were getting the better attacks. And like if you we will eventually come to the Spanish game and how they after they got the first goal and how they kept on attacking, kept on keeping possession, and how that's how they won and didn't let France back into the game. You're just letting Messi grow into the game. Like why are you asking the greatest player of all time to beat you while also giving him the thing he loves most, which is space in the wing?
Yeah. His touches increased, his pass to pass between Enzo and Rodrigo de Paul increased. Izzy, what was Tuchel thinking? What happened there?
Well, I just rewind to the first week of the World Cup, in that stunning second half display we saw versus Croatia. We're like, okay, this is Tuchel's England. This is the way they're going to play this World Cup. They're going to be positive. They're looking to bomb you down the wings. They're going to really put the pressure on you. But eventually, that just chipped away. Of course, in Mission Azteca, like you mentioned, they had a 2 goal advantage. They were able to smother the Mexicans at home. Being 10 men down, that makes sense that there's immense pressure on you, that you have to, bring the shutters down and really try to contain the opposition. But it was 11v11 and he completely turtled up tactically. He was doing the same against Norway, but they got away with that game. We're like, okay, fair enough. Jude Bellingham rescued them. But this time it was a fatal error. And like Mustafa said, it's Gareth Tuchel. It's not what they wanted. It's not what they paid for. And he rightfully has been roasted by the pundits all over the world, not just the British media, but they're like, why did you go back to old things, old habits, and typical old England getting rolled over when it matters and it's not coming home?
You mentioned the Croatia game. In the Croatia game, they were 3-2 up. This was a 2-2 halftime game. He brought on Saka, he brought on Rashford, and he brought on Morgan Rogers. He was a front foot in those substitutions, aggressive with that substitutions. Let's come to that first goal. If you watch that first goal again, it was indicative of everything that happened wrong for England. So Messi got the ball on the right wing. Immediately, Jed Spence comes to close him down. But then so does Elliot Anderson, and Kane is right behind him.
Mm.
So now you have basically three players on Messi. You have seven in the box. Declan Rice, of course, has been withdrawn by now. For Nico O'Reilly. And Jude, who's supposed to basically cover Enzo, gets caught up in that wash of those seven
It
players in the
is.
box, and he's just basically a second away. And
Yeah.
Enzo basically has the freedom of the park of the park to pick out his spot. Knows Pickford doesn't have the longest arm, and basically that ball nestles into the corner.
Mm.
And at 1-1, England has been on the back foot for such a long time. There is no way you can see them getting back into this game. Now it's just a question of them. Can you hang on till extra time and then reset? And of course, they couldn't. But isn't that indicative of exactly what was going to happen once you became that defensive minded and you retreated? They didn't bring on Saka. They didn't bring on Rashford to have an outlet ball. They only completed five passes basically from the third hydration break or the second half hydration break until full time basically had 12% possession
Doc, they only had 7 touches in the Argentinian box in the entire game.
game.
The
Correct.
entire game. I mean, come on.
I know.
And Kane, of course, had zero of those touches.
Yeah.
And so once that first goal happened, all of us who were watching the game knew what was going to happen. And sure enough, what happened. Basically, McAllister again hits the post, ball comes out. Jed Spence uh, closes down Messi. Nico O'Reilly comes on. Credit to him. He moved Messi over onto his weaker foot, the right foot. But then what a beautiful cross.
Oh.
And and Wayne Rooney brought this up in the BBC commentary. One of the issues that happens when you bring in all these defenders is that normally when you have two center backs, everyone knows what their spacing is.
Hmm.
So they know what part of the box they have to cover. When you have seven defenders, nobody knows when to jump, what space is there. Everyone expects the next person to jump. And sure enough, Lautaro Martinez between two players, between John Stones and I think it was Ezri Konsa right behind him, with the freedom of Atlanta to
And he's only
basically
like
knock
5'9". He's
Yeah.
not
correct.
even a big
But
guy.
because there was nobody, everyone was waiting for somebody else to jump. It was a free header, as simple of a goal in a World Cup semifinal that you can ever give someone. And at that point, we all knew what was going to happen. As soon as the first goal came in, we knew the second goal was came in.
Yeah.
But just the calamitous way in which this happened was just, oof.
The word that came to mind for me was generational bottle job. You had all
Mm.
the advantages, all the technical superiorities all over the park, but even then, you just can't get back past that defensive mindset of turtling up. And it was a gradual degradation of Tuchel right throughout the World Cup. He started off gangbusters against Croatia, then he slowed down, and then he went back to a typical England manager. And that was the worst part of it all, to be honest.
This was Game 7, James Harden. This was Pakistan versus World Cup versus Australia. This this was like every single time you could think of a bottle job, this is what I will think of now.
But
This is
AC
that
brings
like
up a good point, whereby I think the foundation for this game was set in stone from before. From when he decided to
mm,
leave Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, Trent at home, he didn't play Menu. You didn't have anyone to with the technical skill, nous, or ball control to do that.
you
And
had
then
no one
in
to
this
push it
World Cup,
forward. You had no one to push the
correct.
ball. You had no one to push it forward except for Jude,
And
basically.
And AZ, I was looking at his lineups. I can't remember a time where over a World Cup stretch, you have three different center back pairings, two different starting left backs, four different right backs, and six different back four combinations.
Mm.
Tuchel just tried. He had all the talent. I don't know what he was trying to do, but for a guy who, after the Euros, criticized Southgate for basically not wanting to win it, but basically not be eliminated, this was exactly what he did.
Carbon
He
copy. Carbon
it
copy.
was it was the antithesis of everything that the FA wanted, everything that the people of England expected when they hired him, for it to be different in a knockout, and it wasn't different. I have some data for you. So 1990, England beat Belgium and Cameroon, lost to Germany on penalties. 98, lost to Argentina on penalties. 2002, beat Denmark, but then lost to Brazil. In 2006, beat Ecuador, lost to Portugal on penalties. 2018, beat Sweden, Colombia on penalties, lost to Croatia. They had the lead. In 2022, beat Senegal, lost to France. In this World Cup, beat Congo, Mexico, and Norway. Once again, every time, and this has been going on now for 30 years, England plays a big time opponent in a big time situation, they wilt. It doesn't matter who it is. Why does this happen is my question. Mustafa, you first and then Easy.
Well, I'm going to go into the historical context of this because before 1990, there was the 86 World Cup where they got knocked out by another big team with the two most famous goals of all time in the hand of God and, of course, the greatest goal possibly ever scored, both scored by Diego Maradona. I feel it's this pressure they feel of like of this nation that they know they own that they're supposed to own the sport, right? Where like there's so much pressure because all of these guys play for all these big clubs, and they're saying you always perform for these clubs but you never perform for England, and it's a lot of pressure from around the world, man. Like everyone kind of hates you to a certain extent as well. Yes, like they kind of hate you as well. No one really wants it. Aside if you're not English, no one really wants it to come home, right? And they just they don't know how they've not won big games, man. That's just it's historically
But
as
they've
you said.
taken the lead, haven't they, AC? They've taken the lead, right? They were leading against Croatia, they were leading against Portugal, they were leading against Brazil in 2002. What happens? And this is
I
across
think
players, managers, coaches.
the 80s and 90s teams, you can clearly say they were inferior to their opposition. I mean,
Mm,
you're not going to beat West Germany or, of course,
Fair enough.
Diego's in the 80s. In the
Fine.
90s, perhaps the worst decade England ever had. They barely made it to World Cups. And even though they had occasional success in 1996, they were a poor side. But 2010 onwards, man, you have the guys.
yeah.
The Premier League really blossomed. You have managerial experience and tactics coming from all over the world to the richest domestic competition in Europe, and still you cannot get it. And plus, you've got the talent pool, man. Bukayo Saka, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham. The way Jude Bellingham played in this World Cup, Declan Rice, and even your makeshift backline with the likes of Konsa Guehi,
Mm.
John Stones played really, really well. Jed Spence played really, really well in this World Cup. So in the last 10 to 16 years, I think that's truly it's in the mind. In the 80s, 90s, up till the early 2000s, the aughts, as you say, perhaps they had inferior teams, but when will they turn it around? Will they ever turn it around? Harry Kane in the prime of his career, he'll be 36 in the next World Cup. Jude Bellingham will perhaps be in his later prime. So time will tell if he still has the juice to carry them forward. And Who do England have as a number 9 on the horizon? I don't really
We'll
see any.
come to that.
Yeah.
But let me come to Mustafa about this burden by expectation. We saw France before 98, burden by expectations, didn't qualify in
Mm.
94. Platini's team in 82 and 86 basically underperformed. We saw Spain historically underperform until they finally broke through in 2010. We saw Messi himself, the burden of expectation
Mm.
of Diego Maradona's ghost until 2022. Belgium, to a lesser extent, Portugal also. These are not,
Portugal, a
but
lot Portugal.
Roberto Martinez.
Was it
right.
Roberto?
So there are reasons. Can you see England basically having that one damn bursting moment and then winning, going on this run? Or is this just one of those teams that, as AZ said, they have wasted a golden generation? Mustafa, go
Yes.
through this. Lineker, Shearer, Owen, Rooney, Kane. Who's
Yeah.
next? I have Liam Delap, Solanke, Ollie Watkins,
Look at United. They're not led by an English striker. Chelsea are
No.
Dominic
not led by an English striker.
Calvert-Lewin, Ivan Toney.
Liverpool is not led by an English striker. Nobody has an English striker.
No.
The
No.
question for you, Mustafa, is did they waste their best chance in a generation to win?
We were talking about this all tournament, that like, if it's not now, then when, right? Because we didn't particularly think that, aside from France and Spain, that all the other big teams weren't playing their best ball, really. Even Argentina, I think, they got to their best level by the end of the game, right? But they haven't played their best. They haven't played their best the entire tournament, aside from Spain and France, who were on the other side of the bracket. Like, if it wasn't now, then when? But aside from that, I think from 2006 onwards, there's a very glaring fact we are also not observing. It is these selection mistakes that they keep on doing because they have so many big names. It is these tactical problems with every single England manager for some goddamn reason that has now even infected the Germans. The like you had Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard, Bellingham. Jesus Christ! Like, how many people could you have had?
I didn't know
Like,
he was on the England team.
No,
you
but
could.
AC Mustafa brings up a good point. If you go to back four between Rio, Terry, Ferdinand,
Campbell.
Sol
Campbell.
Campbell, Ashley Cole, Gary Neville. You look at the current John Stones, who's won everything
Yeah.
in club. Gahey plays for City.
Yeah.
You look at the midfielders. You mentioned
Maguire, Slabhead.
right. You mentioned Mustafa Scholes, Carrick, Lampard, but Beckham,
Beckham.
Gerrard, uh, and then the attackers, Rooney. When are you going to ever get a Rooney and a Kane back to back? This is like,
This
and they
eight-year
wasted
window of
Owen
14,
Rooney
18, and
Kane.
22.
Owen Rooney Kane.
Shearer, Owen, Rooney,
Rooney
Kane,
Kane. Like, when are
or
you ever?
Lineker, Shearer, Owen,
Junior-
Rooney, Kane.
Like,
I
how?
mean,
This 14 to 18 to 22 window of Harry Kane that they've wasted, that is very painful,
I
man.
don't
Like,
think
That's
he's
criminal.
not going to be this. He's already dropped further and
yeah.
further back. In 4 years, at 36, 37, he's not going to be. The other glaring issue for England is they're not producing goalkeepers. Jordan
Mm.
Pickford, who
Pickford,
plays for
man,
Everton,
unbelievable.
is where is the talent coming in? So they have this elite development program that they brought in, but you're not creating strikers, you're not creating goalkeepers. You just have these technical players, but you don't trust them
You.
enough, unlike Spain, to basically in pressure situations control the ball. There was a moment in that game in that first half where England where Romero was being pressed in his own half by two English players, and yet he had the presence of mind to not hoof that ball, but
Oh, that
control
was.
it, right? Control it
I
and
know
beat
what
the
you're talking about.
press.
Yeah.
I don't think the mindset and the way coaching is done in England allows for that. I think, and that's the one thing that'll always get to them. Go ahead,
Okay.
Mustafa.
So I have this. So in the 2018 final, I have this very vivid memory of Jordan Henderson treating the ball like a grenade. While everyone else in the world who wins the World Cup, and like a lot of the midfielders, like the Spanish midfielders, the French midfielders, the Argentinian midfielders, they treat the ball as their friend, almost, right? These guys treat the ball like a grenade. They're always hoofing it. They're always just trying to get it out of
These
danger.
passion merchants get a lot of love in England. That's the thing, nah.
Yeah, these guys, like, it's just like you're you're like, instead of controlling the game, you are hoofing it away and just making it harder and harder. Because if you hoof it away, it's just going to go to another opposition player, probably a center back, and they reset, hit you for another attack. You hoof it again, same thing again, which was exactly what happened in those last 30 minutes when they went all defensive.
And the problem is you can't do it like Italy can, who have based their
Yeah.
entire footballing history on that tactic of catenaccio. But you don't do it at the expert level. You just do
Yeah.
it in the middle, and then you just turtle up, and then you concede, and they keep repeating those same old bad patterns and
Yeah,
insanity.
but
What they say about it.
but Italy still had Pirlo and all these technical midfield players to
They do it to
control.
a T, to excellence. These
Yeah,
guys can't do it to
yeah,
excellence.
these, but like that's the entire thing. These guys do not, like, as Sadi Bhai is saying, these guys have technical players who they didn't take Foden, they didn't take sorry, Cole
Palmer,
Palmer. These are your
Trent, Grealish. These are
Trent.
all beautiful players who
These are all players who could control the game, who could
Menu
play.
sitting on the bench.
Yeah, all of these people who could play with the ball at their feet. There all of these other, like, Rice, Anderson, Bellingham. They are they're trying to get the ball away from them as fast as they can.
Correct. They're physical, pacey players.
It
They're
will be
not
Exactly.
interesting to
technical.
see the fallout now in terms of selection matters, and maybe his powers will get a bit
So
curtailed,
what
some behind the scene.
one question about that fallout for you guys before we move on. In De La Fuente and Scaloni, you have two managers who are not club managers. They basically were national managers. They understood the culture of their team. De La Fuente, especially, we'll come to that in the Spanish game.
Hmm.
Um, is this what England needs? They need somebody who understands the English way of culture and way of playing. And can England win with their culture of pace and power, or will they always end up in this situation when they're under the cosh, when they don't have the ability to control the ball when the pressure is on?
I mean, like, who are the last World Cup winners? Argentina, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Brazil, France again. If you look for the last 20, 25 years, who's ever won the World Cup has had technical players. Yes, they had pace and power, but they always had technical players who could control the game. You cannot go. This is a big reason why English teams have severely underperform in Europe as well, and they consistently get beaten by Spanish teams as well, because these Spanish teams believe in their technical players.
Let's wrap up this segment and come to the second semifinal in our following segment. The blood and thunder of England Argentina was very different to the much more sedate, serene game here in Dallas between Spain and France.
Oof.
And that game, um, not as much excitement, but that was purely due to the Spanish. They completely suffocated that French attack. De La Fuente figured it out. Basically, um, Rodri, Ruiz, Dani Olmo, and Baena basically sucked the life out of the French midfield. You didn't see Olise, Dembele, Mbappe get any run. And, hats off to Spain. Their game plan was absolutely exceptional. The better team won. And we talked about this many times. They were a team that after that first nil-nil draw against Cape Verde steadily got better and they're peaking at the right time. AZ, I'll come to you first. How impressive were the Spanish? And Mustafa, my question to you was, um, Deschamps, did he mess this up or did they just get beat by a team with technical superiority on that day who just had their number?
Um, I think this is the very, very, very definition of a team versus a team of individuals, where, like I love France. I love how France has played this entire tournament, but, like, after watching that Spanish game, it did put everything the French have done all tournament into context, where, like, it felt like always individual brilliance bailing them out of games, right? A lot of these goals, these Mbappe goals, the Dembele goals, these quick passes by Olise to get these guys free. It felt much more like they were playing instinctually and doing bits of brilliance because they're that great. But like when you're against a team, and like Mbappe was talking about this as well, they were going after the game. They were pressing like three or four. They were very undisciplined, disciplined in their pressing. Right. That's why they weren't getting the ball at all. Like you couldn't contain the ball at all. And another thing that was a problem that I had a problem with all tournament, as much as their attack was great and as great as their defense was, right? Which even took a hit with William Saliba going down a back injury, and that is very bad for Arsenal because I think he's going to be out for 4 or 5 months now. The second goal was basically a goal also being like, if Saliba was there, that would probably doesn't go in either. But like we were questioning their midfield, right? Because they were basically just playing two midfielders all tournament, with the third midfielder basically being an attacker who's only who's doing all being up there and not doing any of the dirty work. The bloody Spanish midfield is like 4 or 5 people constantly just bottling everyone centrally and taking control of the game and not letting the attackers get into rhythm at all.
The key word you use there is pressing.
Hmm,
Didier Deschamps, his French players don't press.
hmm,
Mbappe is not going to waste his time. Ousmane Dembele is not going to waste his time. And of course, Barcola, he's not going to press. These guys, they like the ball in transition. They like to move with the ball at their feet. They like to attack. They're not going to do the dirty work like the fellows you mentioned. Even Lamine Yamal, to an extent, will do the dirty work. And that is the difference, that the Spanish, like you mentioned, continue to strangle them. And when the French were on the ball, they lost it early. The French were never willing to put that press on and try to force Spain into difficult moments of possession. And they just knocked it about. The triangle passing, the movement off the ball was absolutely a joy to watch. Maybe if they hadn't gotten such a soft early goal conceded, the match could have been different. But of course, Saliba also went down. That was another blow to the French. But that is, of course, hindsight. In the end, they were completely outmatched, completely outplayed tactically. And Deschamps basically doesn't have the personnel who, when they don't have the ball, they will get flustered. They won't really push that hard to win it back. And with a two-man midfield of Rabiot and Chouameni against three, plus you've got Dani Olmo as well, made it very, very difficult. And eventually the French cracked. And the Spanish, you have to give a lot of credit to De La Fuente, put on a masterclass.
Yeah, to me, AZ, you brought up a good point. I think Dina, after he gave up that penalty, his you could see his confidence just absolutely plummet.
hmm,
Saliba going
They,
off.
they picked on him, as they say in NBA
Correct.
language.
Saliba going off. Basically, Upamecano and Lacroix didn't have that consistency of playing. They didn't know how to gel. And then Rabiot getting that yellow card. Deschamps was forced to take him off.
He had to be
Kone
pulled. Yeah.
Correct. Kone and Chouamini just couldn't run with that Spanish defense. But, you look at that second goal and you look at the goal that Yamal scored that was offsides. Those were things of beauty. The close
hmm,
control, the ball movement. It's just amazing to watch. And what a difference in the way Spain approached it, going up 1-0 and
hmm,
even 2-0 compared to the English. Spain continued to maintain control of those games. They continued to attack, continued to have ball possession. They didn't treat it like a hot potato. And as the old adage goes, if you don't give the other team the ball, they're not going to be able to score. And France basically, Unai Simon had a very quiet game at the end of it. Mustafa De La Fuente, was this the best one game managerial job that you've seen in this World Cup? The way basically they absolutely nullified this French attack that was basically scoring an average of 3 goals a game.
yeah. I think I still give it to probably Rudy Garcia of Belgium for the overall tournament, but for one game, yes, my God, because France were overwhelming favorites for this game. Like everyone thought this was going to be like everyone thought like this was the Spanish were going to be competitive, but like 95% of people knew that thought that the French were going to win, and like to completely play them off the pitch, for them to not basically have an attempt on goal at all, to basically completely take out Mbappe, to completely for Michael Olise to play his worst game, Usman Dembele to play his worst game, Barcola to play his worst game, Rabiot had a horror show at times as well. Like Digne had a horror show. Like this is the thing, every single France player had their worst game, and every single Spanish player had their best game to the extent that when Pedro Porro got the man of the match, it could have gone to any outfield player, and you would have
The one
understood.
difference I would say is they had their games because of the tactical nous of the other
Hmm.
team. You could make an argument Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane had their worst game
Yep.
for England, but that wasn't because of Argentina and what
Yes.
Scolari put in as a game plan. This was much more the French had their
Yeah, yeah,
worst
yeah.
games because of De La Fuente's system, because of the way La Roja basically approached this game. Easy question for you from a legacy perspective, does this game affect Mbappe in any way or Yamal in any way, or they were just part of the story and not main characters?
I think Mbappe's story is still to be written. He's still in his prime, still has at least two World Cups where he can give his absolute best. So he'll be okay. The one whose legacy is really going to suffer is Deschamps. I mean,
Hmm.
how with this team, how much you have underachieved at the Euro and the World Cup level, absolutely criminal. And especially the way you got absolutely played off the park here in Atlanta, in Dallas, pardon me. I mean, that's a real black mark on his CV, and everybody wants the greatest French player to ever do it, the ball genius to take over. You know, his aura alone is enough to inspire greatness. So it seems to be exciting times, but Didier Deschamps, man, he completely fell apart. And the way De La Fuente, he's been part of the Spanish FA system with the national teams under 19 and so on since 2013. So he's not a big ticket item like Tuchel or somebody else like Deschamps, who has plenty of big clubs on his CV as well. He's just been a guy from the system. He sticks with the system, and that's why, I mean, look at the decade and a half that Spain have had. It's absolutely phenomenal.
But they know that system. You look at that second goal,
Hmm.
basically 20 something passes from one end to the other. France didn't get a touch. And the way Porro scored that goal was just
And
beautiful to
and
watch.
arguably the best players on the bench apart from Yamal, Pedri is an
Yep.
afterthought at the moment. Incredible.
Yeah. I just think this French team, this Spain team just peaked at the right time. They were,
I think they're firm favorites for the final, to be
yeah.
honest.
So the final is set. Before the final, let's go to this bronze medal game in Miami. Uh,
Ah!
that with England and France, the old rivals, of course. Does it matter? Should FIFA even play this game? Like these players, especially from an England perspective, they, to go from back into the heat and humidity in Miami in the afternoon, like what's the point? Like Mainu's going to finally play and he'll empty the
Yeah.
bench, but
I think Mbappe
why?
wants to boost his goals tally. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, Mbappe is gonna
Correct. So
try.
that's the one thing he'll try and do is
It's
nail
about the
the golden
numbers.
boot.
Yeah,
It's about the numbers, but
yeah. I mean, like Messi's basically got the golden ball wrapped up now. Like, yeah, you can't
as the
even.
best player, yes,
Yeah,
no question.
yeah,
I think
But the
like
Tuchel has
golden,
to. I think he has to show something in this game to save, to dim the
that's a
fallout
good
and give some
point. That's a good
confidence to him.
point.
yeah, yeah.
That's a good point. All right, let's come to the final. So Sunday in New Jersey, at the Meadowlands next to a mall, where the Giants and the Jets play.
Jets versus Giants.
The MetLife Stadium, Spain against Argentina. AZ, you mentioned this earlier. I think the Spanish are firm favorites, if only because you can see them doing everything that Argentina don't want, basically
Mm.
restricting possession of the ball, clogging in the midfield, surrounding Messi, being sort of what's the word I'm using? I'm looking for disciplined in how they manage the space around which Messi occupies. Cagey match probably won't have much excitement. Probably like a 2-1 type game is the way I see it. AZ, you and Mustafa, how do you see this?
Go ahead, Mustafa.
I just see. I don't think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be interesting because uh the Argentinian team also will do something that will go against the Spanish, which is that they'll be very physical, right? They will try to get them off rhythm and off game, right? And like the Spanish team's game is all about rhythm, about passing. It's about settling into the game, which I think the Argentinian team will try to get them off. But at the same time, I think there's so much quality front and back of the Spanish team that I eventually think they'll nick a goal or two, and then they'll just control the game.
I think the question will be Messi will be nullified. There's no issues
Yeah.
there. But who is that other guy who will stand up for Argentina, like Julian Alvarez did in 2022, like Angel Di Maria did in 2022? They don't have Angel Di Maria here. So who is that other character? Can it be McAllister? Can it be Lautaro Martinez? Can it be, Rodrigo De Paul? Can they find that Robin to Messi, because he's going to be marked out of the game. He's going to be watched quickly, marked down quickly by the likes of Cucurella and of course Rodri. They're going to be kicking at his heels. Lamine Yamal will be treated roughly as well. But the Spanish have players like Olmo who can open it up. Oyarzabal, who's the unfancied, unheralded, but he's got 15 goals for Spain this year alone. I mean,
And
the
his
guy just
penalty
finds the
was
back of the net.
fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
He just finds the
His
back of the net,
Yep.
man. It's
Yeah.
crazy. We've
Again,
got Fabian
no
Ruiz,
stutter
who's a bit of a
step.
playmaker.
No stutter
So
step on that
that
penalty. It was a
no
fantastic
No,
penalty.
no stutter step. Just placement and power, like sensible people.
AZ, you bring up a good point about what other players. To me, the one X factor that could help Argentina is Enzo. I was so impressed with Enzo in that England
Mm,
game. Enzo against
he's
Rodri
had a
and
blinder
that
of a World Cup,
and
man.
that
yes.
Always.
Spanish midfield, he could be the one equalizer. If they start off with Enzo McAllister and Rodrigo De Paul, you could see that midfield game being nullified. You do worry about the lack of pace that Argentina has in defense with Yamal up against them. But that game within a game will be very
I
interesting.
think
How
that
much
Messi shift to that right flank will need to happen a lot earlier in this
a
game,
lot
as
earlier.
he
I
did
Yeah.
agree.
versus him.
Yeah, I think the problem with them is it's not just the pace, it's the pace down the wings. It's just like they have no width, right? And the Spanish do. The Spanish have great width. They have the best winger in the world with them on the right, who is still growing into the tournament. He still hasn't reached his full potential this entire tournament either.
All right, prediction time. Go for it. Mustafa, you first.
I hate I'm gonna do this to myself. 3-2 Argentina.
Uh,
Ah,
I
I
don't
I
believe in fairy tales
I
for
hate I
Messi. It
hate
has to be the
I hate that I had to say
supporting
it, but
Spain in a World Cup final is
yeah,
so
uh,
antithetical to me. But
yeah.
for the sake of sanity, it has to be La Roja, man. You can't give it to Messi again. Come on.
Yeah.
I think it'll be 2-1 Spain, and I think it'll be 2-1 Spain because this is not going to be
And
an easy
honestly,
game.
I don't I could even see a Spain route, to be honest.
Yes, I could
Yeah,
see.
it's very possible. It's not an indoor game, so Argentina will, physically much more demanding. They played a lot of the games inside. 2 p.m. not going to be a raucous atmosphere. It'll nullify some of the effects of the pro-Argentinian crowd. Spain have had that extra day to rest, and then the last thing is, I just think that they were so impressive against France. If they control the ball, they control the game, and 2-1 Spain is what I think will happen. Having said that, if Messi does do it back to back, what a capstone to an amazing
I
career.
mean, come on, man.
Uh,
That's too
I mean,
much.
yeah, but
I,
oof.
I,
I
I,
mean,
I, I have.
That is perhaps the greatest sporting career period of all
it
time.
would
Yes,
Like from
absolutely.
way
yes.
back,
You've
from
already
BC, from before Christ.
like
I
the
mean, you look at what he's done for Barcelona, PSG, Inter Miami. By the way, Inter Miami, Rodrigo De Paul and Leo Messi basically had a complete hand in that game. Owned, of course, by David Beckham to make it full circle. Um, just oof. But if Messi wins this World Cup, what a career he's had. And tip of the hat to him. He's done it with enormous expectations. I mean, people don't realize the deity level to which Diego Maradona was
Mm,
basically deified in Argentina. And Messi, for the longest part in his career, was considered the antithesis of Diego. Diego represented the global South. He represented the downtrodden. He went to Naples, a club in the southern half of Italy, whereby they have that north-south
mm,
divide, and he basically made them relevant again. Um, he had his demons, but that was the charm. Messi, clean cut,
Exactly.
went to Spain,
yeah.
played for Barcelona, the complete antithesis, and yet he's created this aura about him, whereby now you don't see as much Diego jerseys. Everyone's got that Messi 10. Mustafa, AZ, any last thoughts?
My thing is like aside from everyone putting pressure on Messi, the person who put the most pressure on Messi till he passed away sadly, is Diego Maradona, because this man literally called him my reincarnation in 2005 2006, and just kept on bashing him because he kept on not winning a World Cup till he passed away, to the extent that he became his coach in 2010 as well. Like the amount of, as much as like I have a problem with Messi in football for very obvious reasons, Christ, like the amount of stuff he would have done to if he wins another World Cup is very, very hard for me to. It's greatness, and you have to appreciate greatness while it's there.
And just to be clear, I don't actually don't think he needs to win another World
No,
Cup
same.
to iconoclast himself as the greatest footballer of
Yeah,
certainly of our generation, probably
Who
the
has
generation
won?
before
Is it
that.
only Pele who has won?
Pele,
Oh yeah, of course,
Pele's won three
Maradona has.
times. Well, Pele won 50 in 58, 62, and 70.
yeah,
There was a lot of players in that 62 team who also won in 70, that
70.
58 team who won in
Did
62.
Beckenbauer win it twice? I don't think so.
Beckenbauer won it for Germany in 70, sorry, in 74, but then
74
he won
maybe.
it as a manager in 90.
In 90.
Yeah.
In 90 he won it. Um,
So no,
so
but has it? When was the last time we had a back-to-back champion?
back to back was 58, 62 Brazil, but
Yeah,
then the Italians won it in 34 and 38 as well. Since then, you haven't had a back-to-back. You had Brazil. Sorry, you had Maradona winning in 86, reaching a final in 90.
yeah.
You had Brazil reaching a
That would be
final
such
in
a wonderful way to bring it all together if
bring
he
it all
loses.
together. Yeah, if he
Yeah,
It would be
loses it,
great.
just like
yeah.
his hero Diego did. You had
But he's already
Brazil in
lost a fight.
98.
He's already lost a final though.
He already has in
Yeah,
2014. That's
he's
correct.
already lost a final though.
He was younger
Like,
then. I think people remember that more for Higuain's miss than
yeah,
Messi messing up.
They actually
And then,
forgot Messi's miss in that final, to be honest.
yeah.
correct, they did.
Messi's yeah,
He also missed.
that free kick, right?
Yep.
The
But
free kick.
the free kick. So you've had Brazil then final in 98, won in 2002. You of course had the French winners in 18, uh, and then lost in the final in 22. You have
2022.
now correct. You now have Argentina who
And
have
Spain
won.
don't lose finals. They don't
Spain
lose
doesn't
finals.
lose
Yeah,
finals.
they
Or
don't.
just like in 2010, they walk into this World Cup final as the current European champions.
Yeah.
So they won the Euros in 2008. They won the World Cup final in 2010. They won the Euros in
Defending Euro
2024,
champions.
defending Euro champions. And let's see. There's a
Then,
lot of stories around this,
but
but boy,
if France if Spain do win this game, put all your money on them winning the 28 euros then as well.
it could happen. I have one last question before we wrap up. Someone asked me this, and I disagree. They said, "Does this England team join the French team join the group of teams, great teams who never won a World Cup?" So the Brazilian team of
Oh, we've had
'82,
so many
Yes,
of
that's
those. So
exactly what I was going to call
correct.
it. That,
The Brazilian team of '82, the Cruyff teams of '74
mm,
and '78, and to me, I would say maybe France, but definitely not England. They
no,
never reached those heights.
France. I think it's France is very similar to 82 Brazil in my opinion, with all those big players and all those big names, and them,
Yeah, Zico, Socrates, so on and so
Socrates,
forth.
yeah, like all those big players who really never reached their potential, and like I was still
were denied by Maradona.
were denied. Yeah, exactly.
Well, '82, no, they were beat by
But
Rossi
Rossi,
in
yeah.
'82.
Yeah.
The Italians got
The Italians won
the
in '82.
greatest, the one of the greatest games of all time, with Rossi having a
Hat trick cup.
hat trick and knocking them out.
Whatever happens, this has been a wonderful World Cup.
Yeah,
We'll all be watching on Sunday.
yeah.
Thank you for joining us.